Angels, they all around me now, and they are following me from day. Angels, they are all around me now. I'll check the audio. Okay. This thing is just getting darker. Oh my god. All right, we are live, and I believe we're good with audio and it's so noisy. And what do you call it? Okay. Okay, so we are live now. We are live. We are live on YouTube. All right, so welcome to Sunday Market Preps with Eva. So what we do is we analyze the markets for the week. We set our risk and we talk a tad bit about trading psychology, and then we call it a day or an evening. Yeah, so let's get started. There's money to be made this week. So let's start with fundamentals actually. Forexfactory.com, of course. Fun fact, I recently learned that you can actually check fundamentals on TradingView. I've just always used forexfactory.com, so I'm just like used to it, and I've customized it to my preference. But if you go to your TradingView and you click on this calendar icon down here, you would actually see the stuff. Let me put this down a bit. Yeah, you would actually see economic data, earnings, revenue, dividends, if you trade options and stocks and all of that stuff. But anyways, we start with forexfactory.com. But first of all, let's talk about the fact that April has already ended, because I feel like the year started yesterday and we are almost halfway through the year already. But at least summer is around the corner, so we don't have to like dress up like, like we're going to the moon each time we have to leave the house. I'm excited about that fact, but time is like going so quickly. But yeah, I personally don't have any summer plans. I'm just like chilling at home always, for now at least. I have little children, so anyways, let's get on to the gist for the day. Okay, so we're starting with forexfactory.com. Tomorrow is a Japanese holiday, which is important to note because JPYs are the first on my personal list. And tomorrow is Canadian election, so important for us. I am Canadian, just so you know. Yeah, so we have CAD red folder tomorrow. Canadian election is going to be tomorrow. And then we have Jolts on Tuesday. Is this NFP week? I feel like last week was NFP week. Oh my god, what? Yeah, we have some red folders for AUD, CNY if you trade Chinese currency. We also have Euro on Wednesday. Just have a bunch of red folders. We have BOJ bank policy rates, Euro holiday on Thursday, May 1st. What? NFP week. NFP week once again. Wonderful. Okay, so the fundamentals aspects of things isn't too bad for the week, just like your regular stuff. So let's go to the charts. So let's see. Starting with gold. You see this gold over pair. I'm not totally loving it. If I want to trade gold, it has to come back to a an obvious zone and be so obvious for me to get in. So let me see what that looks like on the 4-hour time frame. Could be a nice liquidity sweep to go up. Otherwise, I'm not going to be touching gold for now. So let's start with GJ. I just filmed a GJ breakdown actually for this trade idea that I called out on Sunday, the last live session we had. I called out this trade idea for price to go long, right? So I'm going to be posting that between now and tomorrow so you guys can see. But based off of the analysis of last week, this is what we had, right? We had a weekly, let me go to the weekly time frame. Yeah, so we had a weekly zone somewhere around here, and I was anticipating for price to come down and then go up, and that's exactly what it did. If you go down to the daily time frame, we would see a nice daily pin bar at this point. And then if you go to the 4-hour time frame, we would also see that price did a clean break and retest as well, right? Nice and clean break and retest. Broke out of the zone, came back to retest, and then went to the upside. Simple stuff. Like, you don't have to complicate your trading. Believe me, you don't. And you don't need much to. Okay, so for this week, what I would anticipate is for some sort of continuation move. Just check that we are still live, just cause yeah. I don't need much. Okay, so yeah, so we're looking for some sort of continuation move. So price could potentially come down to create a bottom wick on weekly time frame, and then before it continues to the upside. That's a possibility. Or since we're on the 4-hour, price could also come back here to retest and do a 4-hour break and retest before it continues upwards. No, this doesn't look pretty. Okay, so personally, this is what I'll be looking for the GJ pair before I get back in. I'm already out of my position just because I'm anticipating a retracement to happen. And why stay in the trade when you can exit and then come back and take advantage of the move again and make more money? Do you get my point? Yeah, so break and retest. So price has broken, waiting for a retest, continue to the upside. Euro JPY. Euro JPY. Okay, so on this pair, it likes to move similar to GJ sometimes. So we have a nice impulse, so we should be waiting for or anticipating a retracement to continue to the upside. So where price is at right now, price could literally just continue. However, I would not want to be taking a trade just because of where we are on daily time frame. So what I would be anticipating is for price to continue upwards, come back before I get in. That's the first option. Second option would be for a deeper retracement of some sort before it continues. Okay, and this is the one I would be loving the most, so I'm going to set my alerts at this point. Create. So UJ hasn't done what I would love it to do. Let me see the weekly candle. Of course, totally makes sense. We have a support zone down here. So it looks like the weekly time frame is trying to, reverse bullish. Of course, we've had a couple of bullish days, so price could continue bullish as well. But you see, the thing is, whenever I'm looking at JPYs, I like to get into the one that looks the prettiest. Do you get what I'm saying? So to me, GJ and EJ look the prettiest right now. So I'm going to be sticking with those two. In addition to that, I've probably never mentioned this before, but I also like to look at the Japanese currency index. Okay, as you can see, I have a lot of wiggly lines, like literally all over the place, just because I have a thing for JPY. So yeah, so what I would note is on the Japanese index, you would see that price basically failed to create a new high at this point, has broken structure. So when we have a break, we should potentially wait for a potential retest, continue to the downside. Do you get? Oh, so when the currency index is retracing to continue to the downside, GJ would be retracing to continue to the upside. I hope you're picking up what I'm throwing. Hope you're getting my point. It's kind of like the inverse of what I'm expecting for GJ. Yeah, so let me see. Okay, so NZD JPY. Last week I was anticipating for a potential reversal, but price never actually broke this zone, right, that I drew out on Sunday. So break and retest is what I was expecting, but that never happened. It just respected the support zone and continued to the upside. Now we have broken structure again, right? We've broken this structure. So again, some form of retest, right? So it kind of goes in a similar direction as the EJ and GJ. Do you get? So we'll wait for a retest, continue to the upside. So let me just refresh my alert. Okay. So that's it for the JPYs. Next, we have the USDs. So for the USDs, I haven't taken a USD trade in a while. Well, let's say in 2 weeks. Starting on the weekly time frame, this is USD CHF. We have a morning star pattern forming on the weekly time frame. On the daily time frame, we have price attempting to switch bullish, right, for some sort of immediate trend to head up to the previous breakout zone. Okay, so on the 4-hour time frame, we see that we have a nice rally and the retracement is not totally confirmed before we get in for another rally. So what I'm anticipating is what I drew out right here, right? We have a level of resistance, price has broken the resistance, come back here to use it as support, and then we go long to this zone, and then we see what happens in this zone before we continue to the downside again. So that's what I'm anticipating for this pair, but it has to be so obvious for me before I take it, just because again the dollar index is super bearish to me. So going back to the CHF, yeah, so that's why it's at the top of my list right now, because I'm watching it closely, and then I'll see what happens at this zone. Okay, USD CAD has just been chilling in this area. Let me delete this. UCAD has been chilling in this area for quite some time now. If you go to the weekly time frame, we would see that again we are at a very important zone, hence why it's struggling, right? It's sort of struggling to create the next move. So what I would want to anticipate is I'm going to be waiting for more price action to decide the next move, right? Because it will make sense for price to actually drop from here, and it also makes sense for price to continue bullish from here, right? Looking at the weekly time frame. So if you go down to the 4-hour, it looks like price is attempting to do a reversal, but it's just so weak. So my zones would be these two zones I'm watching. So if it's going to go long, break and retest to go long, and then I would want to get an entry at this level here. SL here, target could be this zone up here, right? That would be a nice beautiful move. Maybe I make my SL. I like to be realistic with my SLs, okay? So, and then for a sell, a break and retest of this zone to go short. Okay. So now we just wait for more price action, for it to be obvious, for price to show its hand before we get into the trade. Euro USD never came back to my zones, or it hasn't come back to my zones just yet. It's just like chilling up here. Weekly time frame. Yeah. See, the weekly time frame, it would totally make sense for price to just do a beautiful retest before it continues to the upside, right? Because it broke out of this zone, come back to retest, and then continue upwards. Then if you go down to the daily, yeah, price is literally just up here. And then the 4 hour, honestly, this particular move is going to be the one I'll be waiting for, just because I'm a very patient trader. Like, but if during the week price presents more price action, like more candles, more structure, then totally I'll get in. It sort of looks like you CAD, right? Break and retest to go short, then we wait for it to see what happens here before we decide. Okay. As of now, I'm not loving the pair totally. GU, yeah, looks so overextended, like it's so high up there, so it could chill for a bit and then switch bearish, something like this, and that would be a nice trade to actually take advantage of. I'm going to move my thing up there. Okay. NU, NZD USD, yeah, no. And AU, I don't love right now either. Let me see the weekly time frame. Yeah, price is stuck at this level here, so we'll see what price does in this zone before we get into a trade, right? Oops. Okay, so let me see any of my, if I have any cross pair. Okay, so GCAD, last week I actually anticipated for price to continue long from this area right here, right? Continue long from this area right here, and it actually did, because we were here on Sunday and then price did a nice rally. So moving on to another trade opportunity, if we look at the weekly time frame, it looks like a clean break retest for continuation. Okay, now last week's candle was not so, pretty, which is sort of a red flag. If you go down to the daily time frame, I see somewhat like a little zone, supply zone up here, like a daily supply zone. That price is sort of failing to break. Okay, now with that being said, if price is failing to break this zone and it wants to decide to start going short, I would wait for a simple break and retest to continue to the downside. Okay. If we go down to the 4 hour time frame, you would see that it would totally make sense, because as of right now we don't have a break of structure to declare a bearish momentum. So break of structure to the downside, break of this zone to continue downwards if price is going to go short, and I'll be waiting for the actual break and retest down here, right, before I get into a trade. Now to go long, price could also come back to this level of support, retest, reject, and then continue to the upside, something like this, before it continues upwards. Now I'll be watching this pair closely, just because we have CAD red folder tomorrow, right? So there could be volatility that we could either take advantage of or stay away from. So I'll keep my options open to see what the move could be. Okay. Let me see any other pair. CAD CHF, nope. Euro GBP. You see this pair, I don't know. Okay, so on the weekly time frame, we have a nice rally and then it's doing a retracement. Question is, where is the retracement going to stop? The best place for that to stop would be either where it's at right now or where it broke out from initially. So if we're going to take a trade from where it's at right now, I would want the daily candle tomorrow to close nice and bullish, right? To declare the support zone for the week. Okay, and then it will continue to the upside or to continue downwards. We do a nice break and retest to continue. Let me just throw that out. Break and retest to continue downwards, right? And then we go along from here as well. But this is not on top of my list, to be honest. AUD card. I don't really trade this pair like that, but right now price is at, you know, a potential break and retest zone. The question is, what is price going to do right in this area? So if we get you know, some form of bearish momentum on daily time frame tomorrow, then if price closes bearish engulfing to engulf this bullish candle, we could see moves to the downside basically. Okay, so that's it for the technical aspects of things. Now, in terms of risk management, of course, you should always have a percentage that you're going to risk per trade, right? Where did the camera? Okay. You should always have a percentage that you're going to risk per trade, of course. Personally, at the moment, I'm risking 18% of my account, right? Like I told you guys a couple weeks ago. As the weeks go by and as things begin to, you know, settle within countries with the whole tariff situation, I would be increasing my risk back to 30%, which some might argue is high, but it is what it is. Now, regarding psychology, of course, psychology, you see what we just did, like the technical analysis aspect, like that's like the super easy stuff, right? But the actual work comes into play when you're actually in a trade and it's going up and down and your mind is also going up and down as well. Okay. Now, as a trader, you should always have things that keep you balanced in terms of your trading psychology. For me personally, I have a list of things that I either write or read to myself. I have my trading journal that I review, you know, occasionally. It could be a couple times a week that I review my journal just to remind me of certain things, right? But I have a nugget for you guys this week. So I'm going to be doing like a weekly nugget in terms of trading psychology. So for this week, my nugget is preparation plus opportunity equates to success. Okay. So preparation, what we just did is we're preparing for the week. We have analyzed our pairs, set our alerts, anticipated for moves to happen. Opportunity. So once the opportunity presents itself during the week, we get into the trade and then it will equate to success, just like the GJ trade from last week, right? So then this week you're going to do the exact same thing. Okay, so now we are prepared for the trading week. Now we're going to wait patiently for the opportunity to present itself, and then we get into a trade and walk away with our money. Okay. Okay, so I tried to keep this under 30 minutes so that it's not too long for you guys. Yeah, so with that being said, I would probably see you guys in maybe next week. I have a lot of stuff to do next weekend, so we'll see how that goes. But during the week, I'm going to drop 2 videos between now and next week. I'm going to drop 2 YouTube videos, okay? So you guys can also learn during the week. So I hope that was super clear. If you have any questions, let me know. Let me just check the chat for a minute. Oh, hello. Adu Bright. Hello. Thanks for streaming, or thanks for joining us today. I hope you learned something. And thanks everyone for joining us today, of course. I hope you learned something, and I would see you guys probably next week or the week after that. So have a wonderful trading week, and please use risk management.